3G for a beautiful session. Good morning, good evening to all of you. Welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Today we are going to do our concluding session on the 4 P's that we have been discussing. So for all the purpose, priorities, productivity, today we will get to the profit part of it from the spirituality. Now we are on the business end of our discussion, right? When we go to the temple, the business end is prasad. So today we're going to have the prasad of all the discussion that we are having. It's going to be an interesting conversation with regards to, we'll challenge some of the stereotypes around related to spirituality as well. You know, when people become spiritual, what happens? And look into this aspect, because what does spirituality mean? Just give me a sec. I don't know why people get active as soon as I get on session. So give me a sec. Give a quick call. So anyways, so we'll get started with our opening prayers. Let me share my screen and we'll get started with our opening prayers. Sec. And yeah, are you able to see my screen?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Okay, so we'll give me a sec. Okay, let's do our opening prayers and we'll get started then. Give me a sec. I'll just stop share for a bit. Share again. Make sure I'm sharing the right screen. We'll get started with our opening prayers. Welcome again, everybody, and we'll do our opening prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening again, all of you. So hope you're having a wonderful start to your day or had a great day. Let's get started with what we are discussing. So lining up ducks in rows, that's what we started off with. We're having this discussion to see, because Lord Krishna says, if you do X, Y, and Z, right? You do devotion, you have faith, do not have malice towards anybody, all that good stuff, then you will come to me. So we started off by saying, all right, that's all, that is fine, but do we really feel the need for that? And that's where we started, okay, let's define the purpose. What is the purpose of our life? And then how do we align our priorities around it so that we are getting closer to the purpose? And then how do we bridge the gap between knowledge and theory and knowledge, practical knowledge, applied knowledge, theoretical knowledge versus applied knowledge. And then yesterday we spoke about a very important concept that despite our best intentions and despite having the access to the best of the knowledge, is if you're not able to implement it, you know, then we will not be able to realize the inherent benefits around that. And that is where we had a discussion, and we looked at this particular Upanishad shloka from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which says Yat so yatha kamo bhavati tat kratur bhavati, yat kratur bhavati tat karma kurute, yat karma kurute tad abhinaspadyate. And we looked at this concept that when we make a determined resolve, intense desire, when we have to achieve something, then it automatically results in a determined resolve. And that leads to an intense effort, and that further ends up defining who we become. It's a process, you know, step-by-step process. And that's the beauty of our scriptures, you know. Some things that happens in a subtle manner, even our thinking process for that matter, when we actually fundamentally broke down how anger happens, scriptures are telling us, get to know thyself. How do you work? How does your mind work? How do things happen? Right? It gives you a very nice framework and a structure around it. So we looked at this concept, and we looked at it through supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Do we have Meenakshi ji there? I promised her we'll give her a chance. So if you want to do that, please do that. We don't have a shloka to recite. So if Tejasvi wants to do that, please feel free to do that before we proceed further. Um, which means fantastic and wonderful. And we looked at that story of that Hungarian one armed man, how much resolve he demonstrated or displayed. Uh, just an amazing story that was. So today, the big question is, what do I gain by becoming spiritual? People will say, life is good, LIG. Why to get into all that stuff to begin with? Right? We have so many things to do. Why do we need that? This question actually comes up. Why basically? It's like, why do we need to add another complication in life when we are already stressed out with so many things? And we are anyway enjoying. What's the motivation basically to even become spiritual? And then the definition of spirituality can also vary, right? For different people, it could mean different things. So we'll look a little bit at it. Now, anything that we do has to be backed with some kind of a gain. Right? We are self-seeking, and this is a good way to align your selfishness, because we are truly doing something about ourselves. What is the bottom line? What is the gains that you can hope to realize out of it? And then what does it mean to be spiritual actually? So we'll look at some of the philosophies around it and see what spirituality means. Actually, spirituality means where you have some kind of a faith in a divine, a higher self. Some divinity is there. Some people call it God, some simply call it nature, right? Different names they call it. So it's just an acceptance that there is some divinity, some higher power which is operating. And then there are different darshans which actually further corroborate that, or talk about this concept. Astic darshan, Veda based darshan, and the ones which are not in accordance with Vedas as well. We'll take a quick look at that as well, which actually do not talk about reincarnation, and some talk about soul in different contexts as well. So we'll have a brief touch on that, just so that we understand. So if you just so let's get started on that. So before we touch upon this topic, what do I gain by becoming spiritual? I'm looking forward to an engaging conversation around that today. But let's get into a bit of a philosophy and theory around this concept. So the concept of soul. Okay. Now, it's a questionable thing. What is soul? Does there a soul exist at all or not? And there are different schools of thought around that as well. Now let's start with the Charvak philosophy. A lot of people actually follow that as well. Now, Charvak said that there's nothing like soul. The matter comes together, and that creates consciousness. That is the Charvak philosophy, and there is only one life. And he said basically, I don't remember that in Sanskrit. Basically, khao piyo jiyo aish karo karza karke ghee piyo types. So basically, with this philosophy, for us, there is absolutely no incentive to do any good in life. If you think about this philosophy deeply, there's one life, there's no concept of soul, forget about reincarnation. So there is absolutely no incentive for people to even become good. Just like everyone for themselves, enjoy life, even if it's at the expense of others, borrow money, enjoy yourself, and move off. That's essentially what this philosophy says. Absolutely no incentive to work on yourself at all. Okay, so that is Charvak philosophy. A lot of Bhautikvadi materialists actually would like to, because it seems convenient. Okay. What I would say is, once you have an awakening, just outrightly reject that. Second is Buddhism. It takes us closer to the concepts now. Now, interesting thing about Buddhism is it talks about Shunyavad. It's like you've seen that if you decompose something, it splits into parts, but there's nothing within. So Shunyavad. And within that also there are a lot of bifurcations in that as well. But at least when it comes to Buddhism, it believes in the concept of reincarnation, not so much on the consciousness. The consciousness is there, but not so much on the soul part of it. It talks about Shunyavad, which is kind of an interesting concept. Then comes Jainism. Jainism talks about soul, but however, it talks about soul in the light of that if the soul is actually something which is actually equal to the size of the body in which it is. Now, and it also believes in reincarnation. But then the question comes that how would an elephant soul fit into an ant soul if it gets reincarnated? Right? So there are more questions than answers around this as well. And then there is Nyaya Darshan. Nyaya Darshan is a very logical, rational interpretation. It is based on Vedic principles. So it takes Vedas as its basis to reason anything. So people who love logic, rational stuff, Nyaya Darshan presents beautiful logic around a lot of stuff, including the concept of rebirth and why a kid smiles and cries to begin with. All that thing is explained. So Nyaya Darshan basically talks about soul, and it says actually soul is not as big as the body of the species that it is residing in. Soul is actually, it says, you take the tip of a hair and break it down into 1,000 parts, and then take one part, break it down further into 1,000 parts, and that is how subtle soul is. It actually goes on to explain that that is figurative. That doesn't mean that we are going to try that out to get to the size of soul, not possible. It is a sukshma or a subtle thing. And Nyaya Darshan actually talks about this concept in elaborate details, and it is called one of the Astik Darshans, right? One of the six Astik Darshans that we have, which is Ved Sammat. Ved Sammat means in accordance with Vedas. And in spirituality, basically, anything that basically Maharajji's philosophy tells very clearly, anything that scriptures say, Vedas say, because they are aparushe, not, it's not propagated by humans. Anytime creation comes about, they are manifested. So those are the bona fide source of knowledge. And Nyaya Darshan actually comes from that as well. And the good thing is, the Nyaya Darshan actually, there's, because it is an Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita corroborates the same. Mame vancho jiva loke. Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, right? Lord Krishna is also telling us that it's my part actually, soul, and it talks about the concept of soul as well. So Bhagavad Gita is essentially an extract, distillation, or the nectar, or the cream of Vedas. And Nyaya Darshan is what we talks about soul. I picked up just a few out of these. There is just a lot of those there. But the Nyaya Darshan is where the logical explanation of soul and how it permeates and creates consciousness throughout our body. Like Chandan, when you apply it to your forehead, it gives you, the cools your entire body, or for that matter, like fragrance travels in a garden, right? That's how the soul permeates our body. It's the consciousness aspect of it. So Bhagavad Gita and Nyaya Darshan, they are sammat because they are from Vedas. Other than that, there are philosophies, and there was a reason why those philosophies came. Like, for example, Buddhism, it came in when Vedas were being misinterpreted, and Bali Pratha and lot of those things had taken over. Brahmins had taken over. They became the go-to person, the middleman between people and God and all that stuff. So Buddha came and said, let's wipe the whole slate clean. Okay, forget about it. Just focus on your consciousness. And he said, that's about it. And after Buddha left, God is also very strategic. Then he sent Shankaracharya to reestablish Vedas. He said he just built on the philosophy where Buddha left and said, all right, let's get into the Nirakar aspect of it, Nirakar Nirgun aspect of it. Once he left, then the next one, Madhavacharya, they came and they established the duality aspect of it. They said not only the God is dualistic, the philosophy that he has a form as well. And then finally, Kripaluji Maharaj reconciled all those philosophies. Anyways, it's very strategically planned. The different kind of saints that come just to continue, so that the chain is not broken. Whenever this message gets corrupted or diluted, God takes an avatar or sends out a saint, so that this is re-established, this knowledge is re-established. Because if this knowledge is not established, then people have no basis to progress further. And if people don't have a basis to progress further, it is a very unfair game. You are in some kind of a matrix and you don't know how to play that game. So that is why people, there will be saints from time to time who will come, and this message, and the pure message, will keep on getting reestablished. Yes, it may so happen only one aspect of it is revealed based on the time, situation, circumstance, audience, and all that stuff, but message would be there for people to work on something. Moving on, if you look at Bhagavad Gita itself, it is called Brahma Vidya. Brahma Vidya means knowledge, to know the divine. Plus, it is also called Yoga Shastra. Yoga Shastra means how to apply it on real life. So it's not a hocus pocus high level stuff. It is divine knowledge plus practical tools for you to apply it in your day to day life. Experiment around with it. You can use your life like a laboratory to try out the principles that Bhagavad Gita is telling us, and then see the kind of results you get out of it. All right. So moving on. I have. Now, do you know which is the most computer compatible spoken language as per NASA? Anybody knows that? You can raise your hand if you know that. Yes. Who wants to take that question?
Samji.
Yes, Samji.
Radhe Radhe. Yeah, please go
Yeah,
ahead.
that is Sanskrit.
Okay. Shamji, would you agree or do you beg to disagree? Agree to disagree?
Samji, please go ahead. Yeah.
I agree, Radhe Radhe. I do agree.
Okay. Yes, Ashaji?
Yes.
It is Sanskrit. It is Sanskrit.
Sanskrit. Yes.
Yeah, we'll talk briefly about the origin of Sanskrit and then we'll get. So,
People messaged in chat as well. A lot of people
it is
messaged.
Sanskrit. You got it right. It is the most, the NASA was looking for the most compatible, like perfect in grammar and all the things. And Sanskrit is the only language. And it is also called Devavani. Right? When Indra and rest of the people converse, they talk in Sanskrit. They don't talk in Hindi or English for that matter. They use Sanskrit. Now, Maharshi Panini, he was the one who actually created the Vyakaran or the grammar of it. It's actually about a dozen-year study if you do that. And you know how he created it? Where did he get that inspiration? He actually went to Lord Shiva to understand this language. And Lord Shiva, from Kailash itself, he played his Damaru. Okay, that was the first distant learning course that happened in the history, by the way. He played his Damaru, and through his Damaru came 14 sounds, if you can see that. These 14 sounds were produced. Okay, maybe in one of the days I can sing that. It's a bit difficult to do that right now. But out of this, he created that entire literature. But then that 14 sounds were good enough for him to understand the Sanskrit and create the entire Vyakaran or the grammar around it, which for a normal person can take up to 12 years to understand. Now, if he had played that Damaru in front of us, you think we would have understood it? No, it takes some level of intellectual capacity to be able to understand that, and which Maharshi Panini had, and he could understand it as well, right? So when we talk about understanding God, do we have the capability to understand God? We don't have. And the fault is not in God. The fault is in the faculties that we have. They are very, very limited. So when it comes to intellectualizing God, sitting on a chair and say, I think I that, or this is what God is, it's not possible. It's just not possible. Okay. I'll tell you a joke around it, basically, where you can apply intellect and it is actually worthy of applying it. So basically, there was a guy, no, it was a school. So there was, in the school, this guy comes, a minister comes. When a minister comes, you know how the principals feel. Okay, the minister has come and he better not find some problem with our school and stuff like that. And this minister comes and goes to a class and asks a student that, okay, if the potatoes that I'm carrying, he was carrying some potatoes also, they are 10 rupees kg, then tell me what is my age. Now the principal, he freaked out. He said, that is a very, very complicated question. He's saying the potatoes, they cost 10 rupees a kg and he's asking his age. How is it possible? And he said he's going to write some bad report about our school that, students are very dumb. So he started panicking. The one student raised his hand. He said, okay, you tell me how much my age is. He said 50. He said, wonderful. He gave good remarks to the student, school, and went off. So this guy asked him, the principal, you saved her, you were the saving grace today. How did you manage to guess, based on the question he asked? He said, very simple. He said, I have a person, our neighbor close to our house. He is 25 years old and he's half mad. Okay. And this guy was full mad. So it was very easy for me to guess his age. So the point where he applied some intellect there. Okay. So it can help in these kind of situations. However, when it comes to knowing about God, it will not. Okay, God is divine. The way we think, our mind, and everything that we have is material. So we really can't know about God. In fact, our scriptures say nobody can know God. And at the same time, our scriptures say when you know God, you realize God. So then what do we do basically? We can't know God. And then it says only if you know God, you will realize God. How do you resolve this paradox? And that is where I say scriptures are not a matter of swadhyay. In that case, when God graces, then you go get to know God. And when you get to know God, you realize God. So there's absolutely no difference between knowing God and realizing God. And there's absolutely no difference between believing in God and realizing God. That is how powerful it is. Right? I think we did that in one of our sessions, that who all believe in God, and we said, yeah. But if we truly believed in God, we would have realized him. So the point here being, it's not a matter of intellectual thing. We have to do it in a certain way. Now, being spiritual also means tapping into Bhagavad Gita like we are doing, making endeavor to understand God, because we cannot intellectualize God. And when we do that, obviously there are principles, there are nuggets, there are teachings, there are things that are presented to us by Bhagavad Gita, that, like any other thing, if we simply experiment with those principles, there are bound to be results. And that is where we are going to have a bit of a discussion on what happens. So let's say somebody is a seeker. So let's look at a before and after thing, okay? And let's build on this today. Before and after. There has to be some delta around that, right? So does it lead you to inaction or renouncing the world, as people would like to believe? Right? Dunya ghar bar chhod denge and we will become sannyasi, right? Or when material reversals result in breakdown, and in some cases permanent damages, it's before. Okay, we'll get into the after part of it. Self-seeking and binding love, right? Our love is something that you may end up suffocating the other person. That is the definition of our love. And it leads to deep-rooted attachment as well, right? And the fear of losing a close one and all that stuff comes into picture as well. Now, irresponsible towards family and social duties, that can happen as well, as we see in this world, right? And leads to conflicts within the family, that, hey, I'm just going to do my Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, and hell with you. Okay, can that happen? Focus on externals, like wearing saffron, growing beard and hair, long hair and all that stuff, right? Now I've become spiritual. Leads to become, dull, boring and serious. Now that I've become spiritual, I'm going to be very serious in life. All these things, I'm sure we can relate to it. However, in this spiritual path, let's counter it one by one. The first one is renouncing the world, right? That's the first fear people have. Actually, on the contrary, it leads you to action and proper consciousness. Because Lord Krishna is telling Arjun, if you look at Arjun, he was saying, if the ultimate aim of my life is to seek God, why to go through the trouble of taking the blood of my relatives and killing them and going for the throne and stuff like that? Why not go to the forest and do my sadhana and realize God that way? Krishna says, no, you'll be neither here nor there. You need to act in accordance with your nature and the station of life that you are in, being a Kshatriya. Then your odds of success will be higher. Other, you will be neither here nor there. And then he gives him further the science of work, that we are going to devote a good uh, week on next week, Karma Yoga. We are going to revise that concept and go in deeper detail, just so that it becomes very clear. We have done it in the past, but it's a good time to have that refresher, I believe. So the first point is inaction renouncing the world. If any of us think, or somebody tells you that, actually it's just the opposite. So when you start becoming you, it will lead you to action, but in proper consciousness, not for the sake of your own gratification alone. That will start diminishing gradually. Now, the other part of it is the most important gain, as I see it, is when material reversals happen, we all face tragedies or some kind of a reversal from time to time. Before part of it is, it can actually break people down, and in some cases it can cause such damages which are irreversible for them. There are a lot of cases where people, on losing something precious in their life, it could be an actual life or it could be material loss as well. They have just lost the essence of their life, okay, and it has caused irreparable damage to them. And in some cases, extreme cases, people, they even harbor thoughts of finishing off their lives, and people do that as well. However, when you start understanding the higher principles governing the life, see, spirituality is about understanding the manual that basically dictates how this product called human life has to be used. right? When we get a product, we typically read its manual on how to operate it. But ironically, the product, like human life, we spend life and don't bother to read the manual. So spirituality is nothing but trying to understand the higher principles, or the rules governing this, so that we are doing more right thing than wrong things while using this product. Um, Typically, once you start understanding the higher principles, your capacity to deal with the material reversals, it increases. You are able to face it with assurance and perspective. It's not that you will get over the pain, but that misery aspect of it will start diminishing. That is the another tangible gain you can realize if you start aligning to these principles. Then binding love. That love word is highly used, abused word in this world. It is very binding. It's constraining, and it'll be what restricting actually. And actually, we can love only when we are at a certain level. Truly love. And when you start seeking, that aspect also starts improving. Then you can start loving with freedom, which is uplifting for yourself and for others as well, right? People end up becoming possessive. People end up becoming as if they want to control you, and just too many things, right? Writing letter with blood and stuff, that is not love actually. It's just sheer stupidity, and you call it love. But when you truly start aligning to these principles, you start understanding it's actually born from your deepest nature, true nature, not out of some kind of an infatuation you carry in this world and term it as love, right? And that is a kind of a love where it can actually vanish, or it can take the other extreme if your desires are not fulfilled, from that relationship. So that is not truly there. But when you start understanding the higher principles, it will bring about that transition which would enable us to truly love somebody. Okay, and it's a very pure emotion, and divine love is the topmost prize of God. So even in materially, we start progressing in that dimension as well. Another aspect is irresponsible towards family and social duties, right? You may be neglectful, but then you start becoming more aware and conscious towards your responsibility and expanding the bubble. People think once you become detached, you will not care about us. Hell with you, and they will do their own thing. No, it's just the opposite. You will actually be more careful and be more responsible towards your family, kids, parents, and everybody. But with perspective, not with that kind of an attachment, fear, anxiety, and all that stuff. But you'll be more careful and more responsible. That is another tangible benefit you can realize when you're truly aligning to. And if any of these dimensions you're actually going in the negative trajectory, then it might be time to do a self check. Are you truly progressing or regressing? Okay, because in each one of these dimensions we have to improve. There's no other way. That is truly a spiritual progress. If in any of these dimensions we are thinking, no, we are getting worse off than how we used to be before, something is not right. Either we have not understood the knowledge properly, or the practice that we are doing is messed up. Yeah. Then the next one was leads to conflicts within the family. This is a very important one. Now, spirituality doesn't mean you will get favorable situation circumstances, right? You will have a spouse who will lay out a red carpet for you, say, hey, go for it. I'm fully supportive of you. Or you will have parents who will say, wonderful, you become a sannyasi now and we'll love it. Okay, and you'll become the next Prahlad and we'll also get to God's abode. No, that's not going to happen. And if you're expecting that, then you are just being naive, playing with your mind. Not going to happen. Yes, if you get favorable situation circumstances, great, but it is more of an exception than a norm. Okay, typically, because when you start aligning yourself to a higher thing, the other people, they will start getting a little iffy. Okay, because they will think, okay, our importance in their life will diminish, or our self-interest might get harmed, and those kind of self-interest driven things will start coming to their mind. Or what will people say if they do that, and what face we will show to our relatives if they do it. So those kind of insecurities will start coming in. So it's not something which is very warmly received typically when you do that. If you do that, that means you have done a lot of good karmas to get supportive people around you. Otherwise, typically doesn't happen. Then what do we do? Do we pick up conflicts in that case? Because I'm spiritually, that's my priority. God is my only goal, and whoever is going to come on my path, I'm going to get rid of them. No. Obviously, we got become smarter. Maharaj Ji says, apply your buddhi in the world and keep your man in God. So it's usually not a good idea to wear your spirituality on or your political affiliation on your sleeves. It can land you in trouble. Okay, you can inspire people, that is good, but if you always keep it on your nose with every second person in life, it can cause you trouble. So you got to be careful over time. I have learned it the hard way as well. Okay, I will always seek out people who will talk about Krishna. Kept on doing that until I realized, no, it's about time I take a pause. But yeah, it can happen. So we got to be watchful around it. And if those conflicts happen, that are bound to happen. Sometimes Krishna also tests us, right? You will be having a relative or your spouse or somebody around you who's not supportive, and then you'll have to do it chori chori chupke chupke, which is fine. It's a private matter. You can always do Radhe Radhe or Hare Krishna. Nobody's going to question what's going on inside you, but you have to become smart around that. Because if you're having conflicts every day, then again something is missing. What is the next one? The next one is focus on externals. Wearing saffron, growing beard here. All right, people who reach that stature, it is a clothing they acquire. So that is fine, but that doesn't mean it's a prerequisite for you as well. Right? Ambarish, Dhruv, Prahlad, they were kings. So you could be in a royal attire with cogs and everything and still be spiritual. Okay, so let's challenge that stereotype as well. Not necessarily. It's an internal thing. It's more of a software thing than a hardware thing. People who are saints, they take that, which is fine, but it doesn't mean only with people who look like that are spiritual. Nothing of that sort. So don't judge a book by its cover. And when you start advancing spiritually, you silently accept that part, as opposed to your mind is still hung up in stereotypes. This person talks like this, walks like this, looks like this, his face should be like this, then only he's the same. No, you will never come to know who's what. Okay, so we need to focus on our journey, and God will lead us to somebody who can actually help you on that journey. But when we start judging people just by their outwardly appearances and thinking they are the saint, he's not, then again, that's not a sign of spiritual progression. Over time, we need to get over that as well. And what is the other thing? Leading leads to becoming dull, boring, and serious. Definitely not. Okay. In fact, the joy will come in your life and you'll become much more interesting and entertaining in life. Okay, because now you're operating out of freedom. Only a free mind can enjoy. Mind with a lot of baggage can never really enjoy. They will always have some kind of a burden on their head. So only way you can express yourself freely, enjoy that bliss, is when you are free from within. You are feeling that joy. And in spirituality, that is a natural byproduct of progressing spiritually. Your joy has to be there. It cannot possible you are progressing spiritually and you are becoming upset, anxious, angry, irritated all the time. Should not be the case. So these are the gains. Now, if you think the things on the right hand side, everybody would agree are better than the things on the left hand side, right? So these are some of the gains I have put down. I'm sure there are much more of them. They are not all encompassing, and that's where I wanted to hear from rest of you as well, possibly from your experiences, to add to this discussion. But these are some of the tangibles you should be able to realize, and just count these things. Material reversals is something that makes us anxious. You're gaining a lot of strength and resilience around it. You're doing your work in proper consciousness. You have to get better at managing your relationships, whether it's at work or at home. You will be able to manage conflicts more effectively because now you're getting better control grip over your anger, and you understand how people operate out of their self-interest from those three gunas. So you are operating from awareness, not simply reacting to situations around. And then you start challenging your own stereotypes in your mind. It's just a huge liberation of your within your mind itself. And the freedom of mind, it actually comes out in the expression or the way you express yourself around. Only when you are not unloaded from the baggage of life and relationships and unnecessary worries and so much of convoluted mind that we have, that's when you start getting in touch with your reality, and it is pure joy. You will be becoming more and more and more joyful, and life itself becomes a celebration at that point. Right? It's like it's so much of a celebration that you don't even worry about when will I become God realized. So journey itself is so enjoyable that you don't worry about the destination itself. So these are some of the symptoms you can realize directly in your life. within a matter of months if you start aligning to the principles that Bhagavad Gita is telling us. And that's where we'll revise the Karma Yoga aspect of it. We did the anger part of it. We spoke about the attachment part of it, surrender part of it, being equanimous. Don't ride the waves on both sides. Simple principles. Just aligning your thinking. You experiment it, and if it doesn't work for you, reject it. There's nothing to lose anyways, right? But what is there to gain is immense, just immense. All right, with that, let's open it up. And another thing I wanted to touch upon, I think we have time, yeah. And the way God operates, the ways of God and saints are different, right? Our understanding about something and the way God goes about something is very different, right? Let me tell you a story, quick story around it, just to illustrate that point, and then we'll come back to the discussion part of it, right? For us, we look at immediate gratification or what appeals to our intellect. This is how it needs to be, and what and that is where we get hung up. But the way God works on us, or the way saints work on us, it's a big picture kind of a thing. And I'll tell you a quick story just to illustrate that point. It's a beautiful story I came across from Swamiji, and I thought, let's do that. So here's a who's here. Here you see a father and a son, right? So father and a son, they had a good relationship, and then something happens. So the son has his birthday, definitely not a 16th birthday, so maybe 21st or something. So its birthday is there, and he expressed his desire to his father. In fact, he had done it that, on my this birthday, he asked him, what do you need? So he said, I this is my, car, that's my passion, and I've been, always wanted to own one. You can afford it for me, so I need a car on my birthday. This is what the son told his dad. Now the dad, what he does is he gives him a Bhagavad Gita. Okay, he gives him a Bhagavad Gita. The son is upset, definitely upset. He said, okay, it's not what I expected from you. He just walked out of his dad. He got so upset, he simply walked out of the house and just left off. So as the luck would have it, his father passed away because he just moved on. It was an extreme reaction, of course. And his father passed away, and then he came back to his house just to see how things are, and he landed upon that Bhagavad Gita that his dad had given him. And he just opened it up, and he opened up that Bhagavad Gita, and when he opens it up, what he sees in that is a key inside that book, and for the car that he had always desired. Okay, so these are the ways of God. So what we expect from God, what we need actually, not necessarily comes in a packaging that we think we should get. It may come in a different package, but God knows exactly what we need. Okay, sometimes even when he has to fulfill our desire, like we fulfill the desire of our kids, giving them candies, he does it in his own way, not in the way that we expect. So we want something, but we want even the package should be like the way we want. That may not happen. And that is where we need to have trust and faith in the way God operates. And that is another reason we need to be spiritual, because if you are Charvak philosophy follower, you will say hell with it. That is what happened with that guy, because he was probably following Charvak philosophy, that there is only one life and I just deserve everything best in life at the expense of whatever it is. That's not the right way to think, because we repeat, and there's no escape from that. So point here being, we want gifts from God packaged in a certain way, which may not happen. God knows what is best for us, and he will deliver it to us. All right, let's get our discussion going on what are the other gains you can anticipate from being spiritual. It's a very interesting discussion, so let's get it going now. Any announcements, Pallavi, before we get into the discussion?
Amazing session going on, Nitinji. Thank you so much. Asha ji has also mentioned awesome session, Nitinji. Incredible explanation of deep Shukshma knowledge. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nitinji. Yeah.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you. Yes, I can see
So
your hand raised
one
already.
quick thing, if I may add quickly,
Sure.
about what I experienced a little bit. One thing was about bringing focus on myself. All the external noise started diminishing what was happening outside, and definitely a deep strength in facing many tough situations that, as you mentioned, that it gives perspective to the situations which happens.
And then we look at things more like an opportunity for inner growth. So if you simply put this punchline on your wall, that inner growth is my top priority in life, then you'd have laddus in both your hand all the times. Everything to gain, nothing to lose in life. Right?
Yes.
What a great
Yes,
formula if you think
definitely.
about it.
Yeah.
Everything to gain, nothing whatsoever to lose. That point.
And chanting God's name definitely gives a different perspective towards other souls as well. We start thinking from their perspective also, and that reduce in having any kind of resentment, anger, malice towards any other souls around us. That definitely helps.
Becoming more aware, you said, right?
Yeah.
More aware.
Yes.
You are able
What
to
they
put
are,
yourself in
what
other
could be their
shoes.
perspective? Yeah.
You
Thinking
start
from
putting
their.
yourself. Yeah. Very true. These things are bound to happen. Yeah. So gain, a lot to gain. These are the profits of being a seeker. Krishna says that Chatur Vidha Bhajante Mam. Four type of people, they actually Jigyasu, Arto, Arti, and Gyani. So one is a curious guy, right? Arto is one who is has material reversals. You say, God, oh God, what happened? And then Arto, Arti, one who's going for material gains. Okay, Hanumanji, I'll give you laddu if you get me married. And fourth is the true seeker, Gyani. Okay, ironically, all go for Hanumanji, who's himself a brahmachari. But yeah, when we start seeking, um, these kind of things start happening, and it's a huge gain. Huge gain. Just imagine the amount of edge you would get in your life just by building some of these assets, and permanent assets, not just for this lifetime alone, for lifetimes to come as well. Because Krishna is actually, it's a huge mercy of God that he says, I'm going to preserve these assets for you. Because if he doesn't, then if you have to start from scratch, from ground zero all the times, it's a mission impossible, right? So he is going to preserve those assets for us. So whatever you have cracked in your head in this life, it becomes permanent for you.
Wow, beautiful. I'll take Pragya ji's hand
Yes,
as
Pragya,
raised.
please go ahead.
Yeah, Pragya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead. Thank you for
Radhe Radhe Nitin, Radhe Radhe Pallavi ji, and everyone. Yeah, beautiful session, like why spirituality. And I like your points, free mind, life becomes a celebration. And as Pallavi ji says, perspective. तो हमारी सृष्टि वही रहती है, दृष्टि बदल जाती है. Same thing, same everything around us. The way we look at those things changes. So yeah, it's how we perceive or the lens that we wear. So Nitin, I have this a speck of, I'll not say doubt, but whatever. The second point, material reversals are faced with assurance and perspective. So yeah, definitely we take all the setbacks with knowledge. So like Maharaji says, like Gyani bhukte gyan se and Murak bhukte roye. So, but this reversals, it doesn't come when we start seeking spirituality. Whether we seek or we do not seek, it will be there out of our past karmas and prarabdhas, because the life is plagued by dualities such as pain and pleasure, birth and death, and happiness and disappointments. So some out of causeless grace, some of us get exposure to His knowledge or to God realized saints, and then our journey becomes a celebration, as you said. So this is what I wanted to highlight. Like, do you mean to say that material reversals are faced with assurance and perspective when we seek spirituality? Or like what I perceive is it is part of their life, it will be there out of our prarabdha or karma, or whatever we have out of our sanchit karma.
Yeah, so I think what it means is, I don't know. So basically what it means is that material reversals would be there. Right? The reason why we are on Mrityu Lok is because if we had done all punyas or majority of punyas, we would have been in Swarg Lok, right? Reaping those benefits. If we had done all bad deeds, we would have been Narak Lok. Since we have done a mixed bag, we will get reversals and good times. Both will come and go. Now, if you're not a spiritualist, right? If you're leading life as per the Charvak philosophy alone, or for that matter, you don't even believe in divinity, your sole purpose of life is to extract the maximum pleasure out of it, then when the material reversal comes, then you are able to go, "Oh, why did it happen?" And all that shock treatment that happens to your mind, right? That will come. Or sometimes people get into depression, or sometimes people even end their lives. They are not able to take those reversals. But when you start having a spiritual knack, you start seeing it in perspective. All right, this is also temporary. Maybe it's part of my past prarabdha, which I have to deal with. It might be an opportunity for me to reflect on myself and focus on my internal growth and take it as an opportunity. All those reasonings one can give only when they have that, a spark of that knowledge that they have.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
it will be like shocked.
Yeah.
Gyante, exactly. So after means after, yeah, after you start understanding these higher principles, you get a better ability to reason it in your mind. Otherwise, you will not reason. You'll say, "Oh my God, what happened to me?" And you'll start complaining about life, and that's about it. Right? Very few people are there who can
Why
actually reason
me
it
and
and
all
think.
this thing.
True.
Like, yeah, so I just wanted to say or ask, like, these reversals do not come after we start speaking spirituality. It is there in our
No, it has nothing to
practice,
do.
or yeah, so it
That's not
will
the
come.
intent. That is not the intent. It is like, okay, before this is how your basically your reaction would be. Now it is how it is. It has no correlation with being spiritual. It has a bit of a correlation also. I'll not get into it because it will freak out people. It has a bit of, because God reserves his toughest test for his best students. Okay, we are not yet there yet. We are not Narsi Mehta, where his entire family was burnt down and he said, "Okay, God, thank you. Whatever Janjal was remaining, you finished off that as well. Now I can only focus on you, Krishna." We are not there yet. So he gives us in small doses because we are not yet there. The toughest tests are reserved for the best students. So the day we start becoming best students, God can test us in a lot of ways. Yeah, that thing.
Actually, in one of the lectures of Maharajji, they who prem nishkam mohi, in 3 series, I think in one of the lectures, Maharajji had said that all the well-being, even the material well-being and everything comes. Of course, God gives only what is required for us, but we are so well taken care of Him by God once we are on this path or Sharnagat enough. Like, yeah, that again reminds me of this line that, sorry, one second, I'm fumbling with the lines. Krishna kripa binu jaye nahi, maya ati balwan. That was the line. That whatever it is that God gives, that is in the lecture I'm quoting from Maharaj's lecture, that he takes care of our well-being also. Again, when we see so many examples, as you said, toughest test is for the toughest disciples. Kitna Sharnagat hai, like we see of Harishchandra also. So yeah, a speck of his doubt is like, does God give all these difficulties, or it is part of our prarabdha?
Yes, that's true. God gives us prarabdha also in a manner that is uplifting for us based on the ability that we have. So his job is not to punish us. His job is to teach us so that we come out of it better and stronger for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So let's.
Thank you, Pragya ji. Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
see a new hand raised. Yeah, Shalini ji. Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Hi, Pallavi ji. Hi, Nitin ji. Radhe Radhe. Okay, so this is a wonderful session today, and I was actually reading a book named Ichigo Ichi. So that's basically defines the art of making the most of every moment. And I happen to remember these 8 lessons that I had learned, which is so much relatable to the spiritual aspect of what we are talking about right now. So it did speak about you need to just sit and see what happens. So you need to relax and observe if something is not going in the right direction, so that you'll get a better picture as to what is going to happen and what would be your next steps. The second that it did make me understand is to savor every moment till the last breath. So even if it is a bad moment or a good moment, you should cherish it. You should savor it, so that you do not miss out on any of the moments that happen in your life, because you take your challenges as your learning, your opportunity, and the success that you get is definitely an add-on to the ladder or to your hat, right? The third thing that I did learn is about avoiding the distraction, and it so much relates to what we are just talking about. When we are spiritual, then you avoid all the sort of distractions in your life and you be so much focused. The fourth thing that I did learn is to free yourself from everything that is not essential at all. And Bhagavad Gita so much, makes us learn this, that you need to be focused on something that is so much essential for yourself. The fifth is to be your own friend. You are the person who's going to help yourself in every situation you go. Something that will drive you forward is definitely your spiritual aspect and the presence of God that you believe is there. The sixth one is to celebrate the imperfection, where you understand your own capabilities and your own potential to look forward and be a perfect person in that aspect which you were imperfect. The seventh and eighth are my most favorite: to practice compassion and to let go of the expectations that you have. When you have expectation, it is going to add on to your ego, your issues with your personality. But when you think of doing it, you believe it, you achieve it, then there is no something called as an expectation. It is something that you've achieved, and it is something that is going to keep you in peace. So I just wanted to share this with everybody over here, because I think it so much relates to Bhagavad Gita and what we are practicing right now. Thank you, Nitinji. Thank you, Pallavi.
Thank you,
Radhe
Shalini.
Radhe.
Beautiful points. Thank you for sharing that with us. I think you can write it out in our, I post a question every day in a portal. I'm sure a lot of people will benefit from it. You see, the beauty of this path is that all these principles that I used to read a lot of books previously, like Sign, and then, all kind of books, but all those principles, they actually converge. So when you come to Bhagavad Gita, it's a one-stop shop. It will just touch upon all the aspects that we hear about. All the principles that you spoke about are touched upon in one or another shloka in Bhagavad Gita, right? Let go, you spoke about, cut the unnecessary. So, but beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Where are you joining us from? Bhubaneswar or Bengal? I think we spoke previously as well, Shalini.
I'll have to unmute herself.
Yeah.
Shalini ji, please raise your
Okay,
hand.
thank you.
Oh, okay. Yes.
That's right.
Please.
I am hailing from one of the most beautiful cities, which is surrounded by temple. That is the city of Bhubaneswar, and we are very close to Puri. So, which is why I would definitely love to be a part of the Puri retreat and would love to meet everybody of you.
All right. I think we are going to have a nice daily wisdom get together there very soon. Fingers crossed for sure. But yeah, glad to
Definitely.
have you on the sessions. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, Shalini ji, if you
Thank
can share the name of the book and the author, that would be great. People are asking about that.
Sure. The book name is Ichigo Ichi. So I'll share it over the chat. Maybe you can post it to everybody.
Thank you so much.
I'll also tell you book, okay? You should go and try that as well. Its name is Bhagavad Gita, written by Ved Vyas, okay? Check that out as well.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shalini.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you. Yes, quite a few other hands are as well. Let's hear.
If I can take a quick minute for announcements, Nitinji.
Sure, please.
So it will be very quick because
I'll make an announcement and make it easy for you. We have CIC inauguration tomorrow.
Yes.
It's like preparing for a marriage, and we are the Ladki Walas. So if you want to help us out, come tonight. Whole night we are going to work, and I'm really looking forward to it. We work, and come over, and it's going to be a grand event. And if you are in or around Dallas, don't even think twice. Come over. There's just a lot of work, and it's going to be festive throughout, starting tomorrow. So tonight we are going to work. I don't know for how long, but it's going to be fun for sure. And Swamiji's keynote speech, it's just going to be an amazing event. And we have a huge hall. I actually saw that it's like mind blowing. that new hall that got inaugurated is going to get inaugurated. And then obviously the family camp is coming up. Do look at that. It's going to be available online as well. If you can travel here, nothing like it. And few other things that Pallavi is going to tell you.
Yeah, and there will be Mahaprasad too. The
Oh,
big,
yeah.
yeah.
You don't want to miss out on that either.
Food is there, Mahaprasad, so we can't miss that. So this was the reminder. Yeah, please, please, please do take advantage of this event. And feedback tracker is posted in the chat. Please put in your comments, questions, feedback for the session, and questions for Nitinji. So that's it from my side.
Yeah. It used to be fun being a Bharati previously, but now it's fun being the Ladki Wala always, right? So you're just planning to host the event, and it's a greater pleasure these days for sure. Yes.
I like that analogy of
Yeah.
Ladkiwala and Bharati.
Now it is like that only. We are just taking care of people who are coming. Okay, you're having good time. Anything we can do for you. I was like, my first seva when I came here to Dallas, you'll not believe it. Okay, I'm going to tell you today. So it has been a secret and I share it only with few friends. My first seva when I came to Dallas here was to create a step which would lead to the stage so that Sanya Malhotra can step on it and she doesn't trip. Okay. And we spent good amount of time creating that step for her because she came here during the Dallas Yoga Festival. So I was like, okay, that's
Yeah, I saw that video recording. It's very, very beautiful event. Yeah, a very beautiful question and answer session with Swamiji.
Yeah, so I was joking with Swamiji. Swamiji, I was, you started doing, got onto this path, did Radhe Radhe, Radhe Govind, and started reading Bhagavad Gita. And finally, we are preparing a step for Sanya Malhotra so that she can come and dance on the stage. He started laughing. But that is what seva is. Anything and everything that you do, you can actually make it devotional, but it was kind of funny for sure. Okay, let's take
Yes.
the questions. I can see a few hands.
All right. Thank you for waiting, Sandhya ji. Radhe Radhe, please go ahead. Please ask your question also. I saw that in chat. Yeah.
No
Yes.
problem. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Lots of things. This session is like beautiful session. I think closest to heart that way. So in terms of, I think after it's kind of covered largely, but I'll try to specify some things that I felt myself. I mean, it's of course a journey, but I think discipline also comes in our lives. It is kind of covered in right perspective of looking into things, but I at least feel that happens. And something that you described earlier, Anarth Nivritti, like we end up, I think, moving away from certain things, but it's not for bad, it's for good only. So we become efficient on doing the right things the right way, right?
Very true.
And dependency, I think we become less dependent of
More
material
independent.
goods. Yeah. And I mean, our dependency shifts to God, which is, I think, absolutely perfect way, because that dependency is never going to harm us, right? So coming to the question, so I had a question from your early part of the session where we were talking about Janma cycle and Atma, whether soul is there or not there. So when someone is in the spiritual journey, is it necessary for them to have a belief in the cycles of Janma as well as existence of soul?
So existence of soul, Janma, part of it. Without that, what would be your incentive? You would probably cap yourself at becoming good only, right?
No, love for God and doing every action in the service of God. I mean,
that's fine. That should be okay. If you can develop love for God without believing in reincarnation and soul, great. So be it.
Yeah, because I thought that it's not necessary to have this motivation of
not motivation, but yeah, logical people would say, okay, one life. What is the incentive if it's just one life, right? What is the incentive for Sandhya to work on herself if pleasure is only, if it's just going to be one life alone? So it typically gives you an added incentive that it's an ongoing game, right? And the highest goal is to develop love for God, and it gives you hope also. If I cannot do it in this life, then there's I can do that later, because then you have to do it in this life only. You will cut out it's like you will cut out all the distractions in your life. If somebody is told, like Parikshit was told, you just have 7 days to live, Would you really care about what's happening between Russia and Ukraine? Would you really care about what is the last statement Imran Khan gave, okay, or Modi is saying? Would you really care about checking that last forward that came to your WhatsApp? No, you will cut out all that noise because your intellect is. So if you just have one life, then it will be like, boom, that's it. Everybody should be really focused on that. Yeah, so you can actually, technically, sure, why not? But then whether you believe in gravity or not, it exists, right? That's what our scriptures say. Whether you believe it or not, that it happens. Those are spiritual principles. But if you have believe in a philosophy like Charvak, then it can lead your human life astray. That is the flip side of it, right? I was talking to my cousin. He was saying the good thing he said was, okay, I don't have time for all these things right now, but I understand your point. He said, what if you are wrong, still no harm is happening, right? At least we are trying to become better people and enjoying the bliss, joy that comes along with it. But if I am wrong, then right, it's very dangerous situation to be in. So if you believe in God and start investing in yourself, there is no side effect of it. You are only gaining. And what about other people? If they are wrong in their philosophy that there's no God, just enjoy life, they have lost another opportunity, right? And then you have to go back to the bona fide source as scriptures, Bhagavad Gita. Pretty much all the traditions are talking the same thing. If you really start going deeper, they are talking the same thing. Hopefully answered your question.
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank-
Sandhya-ji. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I got the answer. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Okay, thanks.
Come over tomorrow. We have a lot of work. If you can make it, do come over. It's going to be a lot of work tomorrow and a lot of fun festivities as well.
Rahulji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe
Please
Radhe,
go ahead.
Rahul.
Radhe Radhe. One of the things which I've experienced is like the changing that state of mind, because that is one of the most critical things which we don't carry any baggage and then we are focused on whatever job is assigned to us. So I think that is one of the things. And the second thing is that endurance level of tolerance and getting angry at small things or having that irritation. I think that is something which I've observed. I mean, it is still there, but at least the previous instances where I used to get angry and all that has actually slowly getting diminished. So I think, yeah, that is
All of us should share at least one thing, at least on the portal or otherwise. That's beautiful, Rahul. Great realizations. I'll tell you one more symptom. Before, you will have that attitude in your mind, I know it all. Another symptom of progressing spiritually is the more you know, the more you realize how little you know. Okay, this is how it works. The more you know, the more you'll keep on realizing how little you know. But before that, you will have that pride. I know it all. I have sorted out everything, right? So that pride will start getting put in perspective as well. You'll start having that humility and understanding that you don't even know a drop in the ocean as yet. And your receptivity, awareness, mindfulness will start increasing around things for sure. It just starts automatically happening. And then you can read yourself. Previously, you might not even know you have the ability to read yourself like a book. Now you can read yourself. Oh, my mind is saying that. Why did my mind think that way? I'm not obliged to obey my mind. I can override it. All those discussions you can actually have now. That is awareness. Previously, you will simply go by what your mind is telling because you think you're your mind. Now you say, no, I have a higher faculty. I can read my mind. That means I'm not my mind. So all those things, awareness starts coming, which is a huge benefit. Lot of
Yeah,
benefit.
that's interesting. Today, my daughter was herself. She was telling me that, Ma, we are mind. And then
You should have told her, never mind.
I told her, wait until you change your statement. Yeah, Rahulji, please go ahead. You raised your hand, so I unmuted you.
And one more thing, I think now we realize the purpose of life. Otherwise, if nobody tells us, then we are born, and at the end, when we are dead, somebody will put that har or mala. That's it. That
Beautiful.
would be no. So
Yeah, it's both good and bad. Good in the sense now you know the purpose. Bad in the sense that Chitraguptji say, hey Rahul, now you didn't have an excuse that I didn't know. Okay, this other person he didn't know, so he gets a benefit of doubt. Now no benefit of doubt. Now you know the purpose of life.
Beautiful. Yeah. I'll take Ajit ji. I see
Yes,
his
Ajit.
hand raised for the first time. Yeah.
Yes, Ajit. Where are you joining us from?
Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe. No, I had participated earlier also.
Okay. Maybe.
To me, actually, I believe that spirituality help you to respond the situation in a very optimum way. Nice. But one big question for the youngest, those who are students or working in professional life, they cannot devote so much time for the spirituality to learn and then practice. And the main thing is that to have a practice, bhakti, and then you can realize the God. So, what is the way out? It requires a lot of time consuming.
I would beg to differ here, Ajitji. It's just about priority and past sanskars. We have to start someday. I will not name the student. I have a student who actually sleeps only for 6 hours, do her sadhana in the morning, just aligned to the principles as they say that. So it's just a matter of prioritization. There's a saying in English, we always have time for things we always want to do. So it is a combination of our past sanskars, how much prioritization we have given it. And trust me, when we start taking out time for God starts creating space for other things. Previously, I would, if you, I give my own example. If you look at my job, it's not a straightforward job. It's pretty intense throughout the day. If I just have to have food. Sometimes talking within my meetings and putting my video off and stuff like that. I couldn't have imagined how I can pull off something daily like this with kind of job I had. But when you start doing it, God starts creating space for you. Your mind starts working in a manner that 10 minutes that you fritter away now, they are being put to use. And you just have that kind of a thing. And then sometimes things start cooperating around you, especially when you make a plan to go to do something. Those factors will start aligning. Maya is such that if you spend your time with Maya, it will make you dance for the rest of your life and tire you. Still, nothing will happen. But when you start making God as a center of your life, you will be pleasantly surprised to see that Maya will start aligning around it. Somehow the time will get created. Somehow your schedule will get cleared up so that you can attend that lecture you always wanted to attend. Somehow it starts happening. Practice it and we can talk again. It will work.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, it's a time tested thing.
Thank you so much. Actually, I just wanted to have your experience as well.
Yeah, it
And
works.
I do believe that your wasting of the time is minimized and you
Yeah.
will get create time.
It happens and your mind starts working at a very optimum level. You realize,
Yes.
you do that and compartmentalization happens. Switching context can happen very quickly. Now sometimes I look, you're in a meeting, then you talk to them, and then you write an email, and then you're texting, and then you're checking Instagram, and then you're getting into call. All that is happening, but no hangover from one activity to another. It just starts happening automatically. Then you're creating a slide, and it just works like a charm. It just happens. You can actually try it out. It works. Previously, I couldn't have imagined it could work like that, but it happens just like. And even with Swamiji, what I've seen is, and I'm very try to be very sensitive around this matter, that don't reach out, because if everybody of us do that, but he makes it a point to respond to everybody. How does he find time? Amazing. Out of his hectic schedule, somehow he has that. So somehow it works out. But you start making things related to God, spirituality, your priority, and you will be really surprised to see how your time will come out from those 24 hours that you never thought existed. It will happen. It is.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
No worries.
Thank you, Ajitji. There are so many hand raised. Sorry, Nitinji.
Okay, we
There
can
are
take
some
probably-
chats also I am not able to take at this moment. But yeah, there are some beautiful chats coming in as well.
You can take a screenshot of that, and maybe we can take
Yeah.
one or two, and then that's about it.
Yeah, and then I saw hand raised of Preeti ji, Lakshmi ji, but I think they again put it down. So yeah, let's start. Padma ji, thank you for waiting. I'm sorry for keeping you on hold for so long.
Radhe, Radhe. Just wanted to add a few things, right? I missed the first part, but I'm kind of gathering what you guys spoke about. So when you're on this path, any model that we take, our perception about the model changes. We don't try to fit into the model, but we let the model fit into you. So that means when you take a spiritual model, you try to make sure that that model actually fits you internally. That is the number one thing. And then how do you succeed and how do you be profitable? The the curve of succession and the profitable thing is the progressive and a gradual realizations of finding what your purpose is. So those realizations will really help you find the purpose of your life, which is what happens in this path, which otherwise would not happen. It gives you an identity, otherwise you don't have one. The spiritual purpose, once you find it, it gives you an identity, is another thing that I wanted to say. And it gives you the room to frequently check, like spiritual checks that you can do. Why is it important? Because it helps you how to live, how to behave, and how to serve the purpose, so that you can grow internally, and how you can improve that attitude and devotion for love. And that way you can increase your service, and you can increase your devotion, and you can increase your love for God. And that will help you increase the law of attraction. That means, like, when you go after your inner self, and your inner self is growing, and you identify what your true nature is, the truth attracts truth. So your inner truth will attract the truth, which is God. So that's all I wanted to say.
Very profound, deep thoughts for sure. Yeah, when we truth attracts truth, and then when we strive to get love for God, then yeah, rest of the things have to get better for sure. And we get in touch with our true nature. Beautiful points, Padmaji, like always. Thank you so much for that. Okay, Pallaviji, do we have time for maybe one or two more, or we are good?
Yes, we do have, definitely. Shyamji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yeah. Radhe Radhe. I have a comment first.
Yes,
Shall I read it, bhai? This is
Yes.
from Galaxy J2 Core. It says, it leads us to freedom from fear when we realize God and Guru is with us. हमारे साथ श्री रघुनाथ तो किस बात की चिंता. Life becomes blissful and we enjoy every moment of life. Whatsoever happens, it does not affect us, and we keep on going. And desires start to reduce, making us more peaceful. There is a lot of tranquility in life. We just need to strengthen our base, our faith. This is where we have to put our efforts, and then Guru does all for us. We just get down, then no effort is required. So we need a firm resolve. If our resolve is firm, we put in efforts, and then our Guru will take over. And then I do not know he or she, and they say, someone told me that life is like a khichdi. The more ingredients that it has like material rewards and experiences, the more healthy it is. Could you please explain it with a spiritual point of view? Khichdi and life, material rewards. I do not know. So all to you. And then I have my question after this. I'll say that.
Sure. No, that is.
Do you want to answer this?
Sorry.
Do you want to answer this question? He's asking, someone told me that life is like khichdi. The more it has in it, like material rewards and experiences, the more healthy it is. Could you please explain?
No, it is not. Material rewards is actually not good for it. It is a khichdi which is not healthy. Okay, now normally khichdi is healthy, but it is not. The more material things we are, the more our belief that there is happiness in this world, or I can extract happiness from this world, will deepen, which is counterproductive for our spiritual journey. Spiritual principle says the more detachment we have, the better it is. So this khichdi is not helpful for us. If we keep on getting everything that we want in our life more and more, it will still not satiate us, and eventually it will lead to misery. In fact, I'll tell you another spiritual principle. Think about it deeply. It's a very deep one. Anything that you contemplate happiness in this material world will eventually become a cause for misery. That is how the material world is designed. Okay, so that khichdi will eventually lead to misery. That's simple. It's an akartenium. Just mark it in words. This is an akartenium of this material world. And in material world, the graph is always like this. First, you will have to bear pain to acquire it. Then you will have to bear pain to maintain it. And then you will have to bear pain when you lose it. That graph will always be like that. Anything that you go for. But in the realm of God, or that entire journey is pleasurable, only thing to gain itself. They say, right, we have gambled so much on world, just gamble on God once. World is anyway waiting for you, not going anywhere, right? That backup plan is always there with world. Just gamble on God, just for the sake of it, right? We play so much of gambling, we do that in life. But this khichdi aspect is not there. Anything that material is always poisonous for us in long run. That is the principle of scriptures. No matter which philosophy you pick up, that is the rule, and that your experience will back it. You don't need a proof for that.
Yeah, can I share screen please in the last screen? I will just share my points and experiences if we can. I can.
Sure, real quick. I know Pallavi ji is getting late, so I can be able to see that.
Yeah, I just want to share my experiences here. After was before for me always. So I was always there. I always I'll start from wherever. I had long hair. I used to keep beard at times, and my friend used to tell me, "Ki, you since you have long hair and you talk such a way, so why don't you become a guru or a sadhak or a pracharak?" Okay, that's not me. So I always used to live my life carefully. I did not care of the world, what world does to me or not. Always had the God for me. Though I had different gods, as I told earlier also, I had four set of gods with me always. If I used to pray one, other used to get annoyed that ways. But then I never renounced the world. I always with the world, living material life. And trust you me, God gave me at the age of 28. I had my own house. I had couple of cars. I had you name it, I had it. But then you know how God is. After 10 years, He took it just like this, all from me. मैंने कहा ठीक है, all yours, doesn't matter to me. You gave me, you took it away, it's all yours. And then I was upset for few years, I would say 6-7 years. Then I joined, as I told you, Brahma Kumaris. I was almost there. Then JQ happened, and for last 2 years, as I told you, I lost my parents within a span of 9 months. I lost both my mom and dad. So and as luck would have it, Krishna was, I told you earlier also, we were doing the class on soul. Na jalti, na marti, na behti. So, and that time also, Swamiji was there. I do not know how you made it happen. I guess that was Krishna's way of telling me, hang on. So that very day, Swamiji came as a surprise on this Zoom session. And I spoke to him. I could not speak because of whatever reasons, but still he made me, he waited for a few seconds so that I could complete my emotions. He answered me, and life has become really tipsy turvy for me for last 7-8 years. But now, yes, I do not care now. If he has to make me live the way he wants to make me live, I'm okay with that. And trust you me that in you know how Delhi is, it's expensive city. We really have to work hard for everything. And since I have no house of my own, we have rented accommodation. It is really at times very stressful to meet expenses. But trust you me, Krishna has been so kind that I don't even know how he's doing it, but he is doing it for me. And I know that the day is not far off when he is going to give me back everything. How and why, that's I left up to him. He has to do it. And as I always tell you that if ever I meet him, I will take out if. I know I have to meet him. He has to meet me. And that is the day we're going to have a blast. Trust you me. And these all things after ones are with me, were with me throughout. Just that now I'm aware of my life. I'm aware that what is my path, what is my goal, and I'm just now more sure of my life. That's it. Radhe Radhe. I hope I did make sense.
No, you did. You did. That's a good outpour of what you're thinking, and great realizations, Shyamji. You know, this is how life is cyclical, and I love your belief that you're going to confront Krishna one day, and I think he will be obliged to come in front of you, and then you can ask all the questions that you need to. And I have a feeling that we are going to meet in Dallas sometime soon. Okay, you are cut out for Dallas. I can tell you that you can do a lot of seva, and we are going to have a blast here for sure. I know it's very late for Pallavi ji
Yeah.
too. Shri Ramya ji, please text me. Let's have a call. But I just want to respect Pallavi ji's time here as well. And I think Shefali also had her
Yeah,
hand
I
raised. And
saw
Kumar ji,
Sefali
please,
ji's hand
Kumar ji,
raised
please
and
text
Kumar
me
ji.
and I'll respond to you. We have to let go of Pallavi ji. She's had a long day and she has to answer very difficult questions to her daughter as well, right? So I want to make sure.
Thank you
Okay,
so much.
let's do our closing prayer. Kumar ji, Shriyama ji, please put your question or reach out to me on text, and I'll be happy to get on a call.
Yeah, and my sincere apologies. I saw Preeti ji's hand raised, Asha ji's hand raised, but I think it was just a matter of time. We couldn't take those
Yeah,
messages.
please put it in your attendance tracker, and I'll reach out to you, and we can have a discussion, or we can continue on that. But I look forward to seeing you next week. Come over for CIC if you can make it. And next week we are going to do Karma Yoga. It's going to be a very interesting topic because it's very, very practical for our day-to-day life. So invite your friends, family to it and gear up for that. We're going to have a real interesting sessions next week around this topic.
And just a quick question about the Orisa retreat. Do we have any more information about that?
I will get you. Okay, my bad. I've completely stepped out. I'll share it with you. It's in November, so we have time. So don't worry. You will have
It's in November. Okay.
ample time to book tickets. Okay, so don't worry about that. And we can have a good, nice get together during the Puri retreat, and we with the blessings of Jagannath Puri. So it's going to be awesome if it works out. But do plan for it, regardless, and I'm sure it'll work out. Okay, can we do our closing prayers then?
Yeah, who is doing today closing prayers? Anyone who wants to take chance today?
Chance. Life is all about chance. Yeah.
Yeah. How about Surendraji today? And
Prabhu?
Shyamji, you have raised your hand. You can go with him.
Yeah, yeah.
Fine,
Okay,
yeah.
Ashutoshji is also there. Okay.
I think we can do
Go
it.
ahead.
Let's all do it.
Yeah, let's all do it. I have unmuted you, Ashutoshji. Please go ahead.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Hari Om. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, everybody. Tomorrow we don't have a session. Please do remember that. If for some reason you turn up for tomorrow's session, it will be at least three days early. Okay.
It happened with me last week also.
Okay.
I logged in and then I was like, okay.
Yeah, we have that inauguration, so we will not be having tomorrow's session. We'll look forward to seeing you on Monday or in Dallas if you can make it to our inauguration. So Sunilji, hopefully you can make it. You make it to most of the big events. So I look forward to seeing you there as well. By the way, Sunilji is pretty amazing. You should see one of his acts on stage. Okay, he's a superb actor, and we get to show our skills during family camps and those programs, and that's where I was fortunate enough to witness his act. So hopefully you can make it this time as well, Sunilji. Look forward to meeting you in person.
Nitinji, I wanted to make out a mention, it was in the chat, that all the 7 mantras of the after chart, I see you are embodied all the 7.
Which chart you're talking about, Prabhuji?
This
spiritual
measurable prophets. All the
sheet?
7 prophets are with you. We look at you.
No, if that's happening, that's nice. I think that basically they are obliging. They're helping me, say things which are beneficial. So which is good for me because I'm truly not like that. So it's a
you are. For us, people like us, you are. We can look to you. Thank you.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you very much. Okay, have a wonderful day and great rest of your evening. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Stay blessed. Radhe Radhe.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nitinji, for awesome session. And thank you, everyone. Have a blessed day. Have a beautiful evening. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.
Everyone there at Dallas, all of you. Thank you.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.